Oh God, you look so good in this video. Oh my gosh.
We planted a peach tree in the front of our house 2 years ago. And at that time, we didn't have any big plans for the garden out there, but now we do. And now that we're putting those plans into motion, we realize that the peach tree is smack dab in the middle of everything we need to do. Right now is the perfect time to transplant that peach tree because it hasn't started budding yet, it's still in dormancy. And we realized just today that it's gonna be in the way because today we're putting our bagel garden beds out in the front yard. So today's kind of the last day that I have to do this because it is 60 degrees outside. That tree is gonna start budding, and once it comes out of dormancy, we can't really be transplanting it. It's not gonna be very good for the tree. So we're gonna do this today. We were already planning on putting a bunch of fruit trees back here. We weren't planning on moving that peach tree by any means, but now we are. Now that peach tree is gonna be part of the little orchard area back here, but that's okay. Now, how do you actually transplant a peach tree after it's been planted somewhere else for a couple of years? Well, you start out by finding a good place to do it. So right here, we get a little bit of afternoon shade coming from these trees over here, but it's not too bad. It still gets some pretty decent sun right here. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dig this hole first. I wanna dig it bigger than what I need for that tree because where the tree's at now, I need to make sure I dig out the entire root ball as much as I can at least when I pull that out. But what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna dig a very big hole and I'm gonna put some compost in there, a little bit of fertilizer, just give it some things to help it wake it up out of dormancy when it's ready to go. When I first realized today that we needed to move this tree, I was honestly gonna wait for a week or two. I was gonna get on Bagel Garden and order some of those tree rings, the ones with the self-watering pouches, because that's what I'm using for all the trees back here. But then I realized we are at the end of February. It is 60 degrees right now. And if I wait for the rings to get here, that tree might be out of dormancy and I don't wanna move it after that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna order those tree rings for all the trees we're putting back here. And then once they get here, I'll put a tree ring around this tree, but I need to get it moved now because it is just too warm, getting too warm too quickly, and I don't want that tree to start growing again. I'm gonna start with this hole here. I don't know if it'll be big enough, but I'm about to find out. Let's go dig up that peach tree and see what that root ball looks like. This right here is the entrance to the garden, and the peach tree is just smack dab in the way, and this peach tree is only a couple years old. So we need to get this out of here so that way we can put another bed over here, maybe get rid of this bed and get a longer bed, and then put a bed here in the middle just to get as much use of this space as we can. So this peach tree has to go. Oop. Ow, that sucked. I need to finesse this a little bit. Charge $100 an hour. Okay. Put it on my tab.
Tabs.
I know.
What's for dinner?
Jermaine and I were gonna do steaks.
How you cooking?
I don't know. Haven't got that far yet. We kind of got preoccupied with this.
Get better at editing.
I need to get better at editing. Maybe if I got better at editing, more people will watch my videos. Oh, there we go. Look at you, dude, bringing the muscle.
Now you need your wagon.
My wagon's right there. We pulled over here because this is definitely going on the wagon.
Put it in the wagon, then you could have a mobile peach tree. Oh God, you look so good in this video. Oh my gosh. You can't get it in that wagon.
I don't think I can. I need your help.
Andrew, what?
Woo! All right, now I'm gonna take my peach tree into the backyard and make a bigger hole.
Why couldn't you just
You have good soil over there where you're putting it?
It's not bad. It's a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. Because another peach tree is like $100.
That's fine. Just plant it in there and then walk around and sell the peaches.
That'd be cool.
Like mobile peaches.
Babe, if I just plant it in here, would you buy my peaches?
You gotta buy my peaches.
I'll buy your peaches if you buy my peaches. Oh, time out. There's worms. I'm gonna put the worms in the. There we go, little buddies. There you go.
Look what the cat dragged in.
Like quite literally. You finding worms?
There's not much far left.
Put it right there on that on the roots of the tree. There you go. Those worms will be good. Thanks, buddy. I think I need a bigger hole. Okay, to get started, we're just gonna add some compost, and it doesn't need to be anything fancy with your compost. This is Miller's Premium Organic Compost, and this is one we use quite a bit here, but only because we can find it cheap locally, or we order in bulk. But when we aren't ordering in bulk, we are just buying some bags like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some compost down in here to give some nutrition into the bottom of this hole here. And I'm gonna mix it in with all of the dirt that's in here. So everything that's in here is nice and loose now. I wanted to make sure that whatever roots are growing down this deep have some nice loose soil to grow into with some compost mixed in there as well. So that way it's just nice and nutritious. Some bone meal in here. And this is, honestly, bone meal is something that anytime I plant anything, I'm throwing bone meal in. Bone meal is one of those things that throw it in, it's organic, it's not gonna burn your plants, as well as this organic garden tone. I don't have links or anything for any of this stuff. This is just stuff that you can find pretty much at any garden store. I think most of this stuff you can even find at Lowe's. So throw some of this in there. Make sure I mix it around real good. All right, don't make fun of me because this tree is not light, so I'm gonna do my very best to get this out of here in any kind of way that doesn't just look hilarious. It might not look heavy, but this root ball is very heavy. So let's see if we can get it up. There we go. Okay. All right. I could have gone a little bit bigger with this hole, but that's okay. When I bring the Vego Garden rings in, I don't want this to sit too low because I want to be able to add some compost and some mulch up above on the top of that ring. So this is going to be perfect. I've got plenty of room around this plant to add some of this soil right here, back down into the sides. So I'm going to add this back down in, just kind of in the cracks a little bit, work it in. You want to make sure that you're filling in every little gap that you can. So we'll work it down in some of these roots. But next, now that we're at the level of where the roots are actually growing, I want to make sure I get some good nutrition down in here because this is the first place that these roots are getting it from. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of this compost in right here. And I'm adding it all around where these roots are growing. Now, you can never really add too much compost because this is a very natural form of fertilizer. It's not gonna burn your plants, anything like that. It's just something that really just helps build your soil, gives it that bioactivity, gives it good, nice, slow nutrition that is gonna just help this plant grow over time and not just give it a shot of nutrition right off the bat. I'm also gonna add a little bit more of the fertilizers in at this point. So just give it a little bit for the plant to take up right now, for the tree to take up right now. There we go. As well as the garden tone over here. There we go. Now let's add some more of this native soil back into it. There was a pencil buried in here. I don't know if that's from us or the previous owners, but that's kind of funny. We found some pottery, some little clay things buried out back here, and we've just found some pretty cool stuff. We found old kids' toys buried back here. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're a gardener and you're just constantly working the soil and unburying things and turning the soil and working with it. So now we've got as much native soil as we want in and around over here. Now this tree is a little bit above soil level, and I'm okay with that, especially because I'm getting these rings from Vego Garden. If I wasn't getting these rings from Vago Garden, I'd want to make sure that this was planted right at the soil level. But with this, I'm okay with it being a little bit raised because this ring, I think, is 7 inches tall. And I want to put some compost in there. I want to put some mulch in there so it can hold some water. And you don't want to suffocate the trunk of this tree. So with it sitting a little bit higher like that, it gives me a little bit of room to add that ring and add the compost and different things. So for now, I'm going to leave that dirt sitting there. And I'm just going to add a little bit of compost here on the top. So that way this compost can work its way down and seep down into the soil. If you're interested in seeing what these tree rings look like, we'll be making a video here pretty soon with all the other fruit trees we're putting back here with those tree rings. This is gonna be perfectly okay for this plant. We gave this plant the best start or transplant we possibly could with what we had. We might be a little bit late just based on a couple of these buds coming up, but I think we'll be okay. We're gonna find out here pretty soon as it starts growing or doesn't start growing, one or the other. Hopefully we're okay. I would prefer to not buy another peach tree, but if I have to, I will, because we really like our peaches. But if you want to see the tree rings that we're going to be putting in, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. It'll be coming out soon. Or depending on when you're watching this, go back and watch those videos because they might be out already.